First of all, thank you all to come to our Creating BIM Workflows. So I guess firstly, thanks to the AMCA for putting on such a great industry event. So it's my first time attending. I've really enjoyed the morning session, it's been really good. C.O. Kennedy, our Australian representative, I think we've been sponsors the last 3 or 4 years, Matt.
That's right.
So it's great to be part of it. My name's Craig Robertson and I'm the Construction Segment Manager for Leica Geosystems. So what we'll run through, it's a little bit confusing of who are we. We talk about Hexagon, we talk about Leica, we talk about C.O. Kennedy, so I'll just make that a bit clearer for everyone. I'll discuss the products that we develop for the construction industry, as well as some new products that we've brought out for the AEC industry in 2019. We'll then move on to more the actual workshop, which will be a practical demonstration where we'll demonstrate Icon 5.0 and the robotic total station. And we'll finish up with reality capture, what's new with Greg Franz, our scanning segment manager. So are we Hexagon or are we Leica? So Hexagon is the parent company that owns the Geosystems, which is one of the divisions of Hexagon. So Hexagon's a global leader in sensors, software and autonomous solutions. It's quite a broad range of industries that we operate in, from agriculture, mining, to manufacturing, intelligence and safety and infrastructure. The Geosystems group, we're probably best known in the surveying industry for providing the highest quality, most accurate survey instruments, but we've been developing products for the construction industry as well for nearly a decade now. So a little bit about myself. So I've been with Leica for 10 years. I filled a number of different technical and commercial roles, but pre-Leica I was a construction surveyor. And I find it quite humorous now when I look at what my digital 20 years ago was when I started out as a construction surveyor. I thought we were doing well. We could get a DXF, I could read it in, spit it out to my calculator, and then I'd set everything out by bearing and distance with my manual total station. If we look at that compared to today, where we can bring a full 3D IFC file in and set it out with robotic total station, we've certainly come a long way. So if we look at the product suite, so the construction product suite is the suite that I look after. So if we look at the building construction products, we start from very simple products, so simple lasers, line lasers, all the way up to full robotic total stations and GPS receivers. We have a detection portfolio, and we've just brought out the see-through scanner, so we can actually detect steel or piping in an existing wall. We have the probably one of our best known products, which is the disto category for simple measurement on site or simple data capture. We've also got the heavy construction products, which is the machine control products as well. We also have the full suite of reality capture products, so that's including drones, mobile mapping. But probably what's more interesting is the products that we've really developed for the AEC market, such as the BLK 360. Which has, from a simplicity point of view and a price point of view, has really brought scanning to a lot broader audience than what previously would have had it. More recently, we brought out the RTC 360, which again brings simplicity and speed to the AEC market. We've developed some new products in 2019. I'll just show a video of one of them.
Achieving success in today's complex world of construction demands smarter, faster, and less error-prone tools than plumb bobs and tape measures. Being able to take the design to the field with high accuracy at a pace that can overcome unforgiving timelines and last-minute changes has become the benchmark. Requiring only one person to operate, the Leica Icon ICT30 construction layout tool makes layout tasks extremely efficient, freeing up valuable crew members to perform other tasks. Construction environments are often busy and challenging, causing the prism to lose line of sight. In this situation, having a layout tool that is smart enough to anticipate your movement and reacquire lock prevents you from having to slow down. While having a smart layout tool that keeps you moving forward without losing a step is important, it is only part of the story. Being easy to set up and operate is the other. The intuitive touchscreen interface of the ICT30's field controller allows you to easily interact with the design layout, helping you move from point to point with confidence. This encourages team members of all skill levels 3D model in the field provides a visual point of reference that helps to understand complex layouts at a glance. And with reflectorless operation, the ICT30 can go anywhere you can, eliminating the need for awkward workarounds. Tools like unloads or help from others, keeping you moving from point to point. The ultimate versatility, invaluable quality, and the comforting dependability of the ICT30 by Leica Geosystems enables every team member to deliver with confidence. Rethink what's possible.
All right, so that's like we've had the high-end robots for quite a long period of time, but we didn't have the construction point layout tool, and that's why we've actually brought that out, just so we've got it's more an entry-level instrument, really focused on the internal trades. So for your MEP, where you don't need such the long range and things like that as well. We've additionally brought out some manual total stations as well. So we've had the builder for quite a number of years. We've brought out a new generation builder which actually runs the Icon software on board. So we've got the ICB 50 and the ICB 70, with the difference being the ICB 70 also has a built-in modem, so you can actually download and upload information from the cloud, whether it's BIM 360 or Connex, which is the Leica cloud software. One of the, I guess you'd say, the novel or unique parts of our offering, if we look at from the manual total stations to our point layout tool to our full robotic total stations, and then the same with our GPS receivers, from the simple network rover all the way up to the 70T, which is our tilt adjusted pole. The one thing that brings it all together is the Icon software, so it's one software across the entire hardware suite. All right, with that, I'll probably hand over to CR Kennedy. So CR Kennedy, they're our partner and sole distributor in Australia. So CR Kennedy have national coverage with sales and service capability in every major city. Whilst access to high quality products is important, really the service and support aspect is equally as important, and CR Kennedy do a fantastic job, so we're lucky to have such a good local partner. So I'll hand over to Matt and Chris, and they can actually get on with the real work and do the demonstration.
Thank you very much, Craig. Slight apologies for those in the room who have seen this, but we'll just go through this once more. Which is basically just to show the breadth of the offering that CR Kennedy Building Construction has. And certainly we come out of an industry or come out of an experience through survey and high-end optics, but managed to I guess, combine that with some newer technologies, certainly new offerings from Leica, some other offerings that we look at through the industry and what's available to bring to market, specifically for building construction. So working with some local partners there who are prefabrication, so obviously a very growing and important part of the sector. MEP, extremely important. That's why we've been involved with the BIM, MEP and AMCA for as long as we have. Steel detailing and steel fabrication through our connectivity directly to Tekla. So the IFC out of this system goes straight into Tekla and vice versa. So yeah, a good covering. So thank you again for the introduction. The C3 scanner, I think, is probably now in that very much disruptive market or segment which we've been experienced with the BLK, and the C3 scanner will allow other people to take on that very important job of detection that don't necessarily have that sort of almost engineering scientific background, which is quite amazing. And likewise with just the prevalence of drones, we have the capability to support those as well through Pix4D and other solutions that we've got. But today we're talking about the BIM workflow and certainly the improvements that have happened from the version 5 and now, as of last night or the night before, the version 5.1. All of this, or the majority of what we're going to talk about today, is already on our website, which I'd really encourage you to check out. We'll have links to it from various posts and bits and pieces. But there's a full review of the version 5, will be updated shortly about 5.1, as well as workflows, tutorials and those sort of things, and now with the Leica extending its resources into online training. So anyone who buys a piece of Leica equipment will have access to the online training modules, which are excellent. probably 4 years ago. In fact, one of the reasons I moved to CR Kennedy was that Leica and Autodesk announced an alignment or an agreement, partnership perhaps, to jointly develop some products and some workflows. And this is probably the first iteration of this. I'm sure there were things that was happening in the background before this, but the first thing the market saw was the BLK. And an amazing device, because probably less of their own devices, Leica would have admitted that they probably wouldn't have come up with this. But they worked with the engineers from Autodesk, and they looked at the workflows and how people want to use scanners. And this was the first scanner ever on the market to connect through to the iPad, have the iPad connectivity, so ease of use and simple control. Continuing that, certainly the updates to the Build 5, which is basically the term I'll use for anything to do with building layout and set out measurement, also has that partnership between Autodesk and Leica. And I don't think you'll find that anywhere near as strong for any other vendor in the market. So this, in a nutshell, explains what happens. So up until now, surveyors in the room would definitely be used to the idea of doing a stakeout or a feature survey, bringing those discrete points into a fairly basic program. I'm sure it's very clever, but it looks pretty basic. Extracting those into some contours and some features, and then passing it back to the architect who's like fairly unimpressed. But anyway, that's how it worked. Now this workflow is a full BIM workflow. So we can start picking up in 3D, we can start feature surveys, more importantly we can take models, our scans from both the RTC and the BLK, put that into the single environment, ensure that it works, and it does, clash detection or clash avoidance is probably the better word, because ideally you don't want to detect, you don't have to detect it, you want to avoid it before we even, as we design. And the fact that now the Build 5 works with the BIM 360 platform, and also through the acquisition of APL, which is the Autodesk Point Layout system. It's a system of 3 plugins for 3 different programs: AutoCAD, Revit, and Navisworks. You can certainly do this whole round trip very, very easy, and work also with the cloud system that comes with the Build 360 layout device. So people have been looking at that, Hanson Young and a few others. Very good, we think, from a project management point of view, maybe a site supervisor. But our workflow through the yellow build certainly more finite when it comes to actual building setouts. Verification is probably okay with the other BIM stuff, but certainly the setouts for us is where we excel. So in version 5, which we weren't able to show last year, is the big update is the fact that it works with APL, Autodesk Point Layout. Unfortunately, that's not part of your Autodesk suite, so that's an add-on that you purchase. And certainly we're working with a couple of suppliers to see how best we can arrange that. But once you have that add-on, you can then export in a new format called Leica Field, which will actually go straight back into this controller, incorporating control points and reference data if it's needed. So it's like a bundle of information. DWG, which is actually still a big requirement on site, mainly because the fact that the people in the room here probably know this, you really don't have much control over what you're sent still. And so if you're sent a DWG, if you're on site, you don't have much chance to change it or request something else. So the fact that we support the DWG is a big deal. And PDF, again, the surveyors in the room, if there are any, have just rolled over. But we do support PDF as ability to take points off that. You scale it to how you're happy with it, and we certainly would recommend any of these above before PDF, but at least you can start working and start with that. We also understand that, and I think that's probably the worst image I've ever used, we understand that you're not always going to be able to come off some surveyor's grid nicely pointed and labelled for you. Sometimes you just have to be a little bit inventive, and certainly with the new addition of the as-built walls, which you can also use as as-built columns. If you're in an environment where at least you've got some part of the building that's constructed, you can come off those and reference. And that's exactly what Chris will do through our live demo. But again, this shows you, I guess, the focus and why this is a different setup to a surveying type of approach, because very simple, illustrated, if I can understand it, then it's doing pretty well. To highlight some of these things as well, the ability of utilising both 3D and 2D. So we've got the ability to have multiple sets of reference documents or reference data in the environment, as well as the very much focusing on the IFC. Now, Leica being a European company, IFC is very, well, it's mandated in lots of arrangements, so that's why there's such a focus. Still have the ability, and with the improvements, again, with that relationship between Autodesk IFC is a lot better than it used to be. So, and that's continuing to improve. And I know it's probably got a little bit of a way to go before IFC and MEP is as finite as what it needs to be. But for a lot of the other trades and just having its background information, it works extremely well. And we have now a new camera support option or plugin or module. Again, if you are in a situation where you're on site, there's an issue, you can geotag that image. It can come back as part of that workflow back to the office and highlight the issues that you've got. So again, quite simple. Now, to actually get to this point today, we decided, probably foolishly, to come in yesterday and measure up, and we were going to take it all nice and easy and do some demos. But this room is booked. So when they went to a break, luckily we had the BLK with us, so we came in and took 4 shots, just bang, 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 and left. Not even with the iPad, nothing. So what I wanted to show as far as how that worked was the fact that the BLK, and stealing a little bit of Greg's thunder, now also works with our Field 360 program. So for those of you who have used Revit, and again, that's an important partnership, but it's fairly basic. Whereas our survey grade, or survey workflow, I should say, through Field 360, it proved itself yesterday, just really, really simple. So came in, took the shots, went back to the office, not my office, Bernie, that's why I wasn't there, and downloaded it from the iPad, from the device to the iPad. So that's what I was showing there before, just connect through as normal. All the 4 points basically popped on the screen, remembering it doesn't have any location in this device, unlike our big brother RTC, so it just basically drops in. But you can align them using the alignment tool, so actually you get to pull these together until they find a connection. They will then not automatically, but it'll optimise and find its best fit. And then you basically do that on the other 2 as you go through. And we end up with a room plan and a bit of an external, because we were mucking around by then. The other big advantage is that on the iPad you see the point cloud. And this was actually a low-res scan because I put it on the lowest setting I could to be able to get out of here in time. And it's enough though for me to model up this room last night, give some basic information through to Chris, which you'll see in a second. And also, well, that's from the Revit, but I could have at this point put some tags on, I could have put some notes, done some measurements, those sort of things, just here. Now, this is there's 2 things. This is a low resolution to begin with, and then when it gets to the scanner, when it gets to the iPad, it's already cut it down as well. So it's just a very lightweight objects, they call it. But enough to understand how it's working in space, and then I pass it through into Register 360, which is actually the processing tool. From Register 360, and what I might do, it's a little bit out of sync. From Register 360, we have the ability now of exporting directly to RCP. So this is part of our Publisher Pro add-ons. And part of Publisher Pro is the fact that we can go out to RCPs, separate ET7s if you need individual setups, something like Verity or those sort of programs require that. We can go out to LGS, which is our proprietary format, which also has some connectivity to third-party products. And then from that RCP, obviously, I'm just opening straight up in Revit. And Greg might have a little bit more to talk about some of those features as well. So cheap and cheerful, but popped it into my Revit environment, modelled up some walls, coordinated through with the walls that were there, existing walls. And then from there, I use the tool called Autodesk Point Layout. So I might just show that a little bit and then pass through to Chris as our demo progresses. So here we are, I've just made a quick wall set. If I turn that into a different colour, maybe you can see it a bit better. Not really. Some walls. And then up here, this is the normal Revit toolbar, but up here you'll see Autodesk Point Layout, which actually gives me an enormous range of options to basically prep this plan or this data for use on site, use on field. Some of them are automated, so walls are automated, slab floors and rooms are automated if I use those tools, as well as ceilings. But basically I've just populated a couple of points on this wall and we move over to the export option. Now, remembering this is for Autodesk Point Layout 2020, and here is the new integration, which is like a field project. And that basically combines your export references and your point files of the points we've set out, and allows us, if we go file location, to actually link into BIM 360. This is where it might get all undone because I don't know if I'm on the network still. No, I'm not. Excellent. Okay, give me a couple of seconds and I'll come back to that. BIM 360 sits there in the options list, and it populates straight through to the various projects that I've got authorization to. Now, I'm just going to my hotspot died about 2 minutes before we started, but this will get me spam for the rest of my life. Maybe I deserve it. Who said that? So, back to here. We'll go back then. From this point, actually, you've probably noticed already, this has actually been around for a couple of versions. We can also create issues that we might have from the field and read them against the model, or issues that from the model we want to check on field. So this is what these BIM 360 field issues are about. Location, BIM 360, there you go, that's better. So now it's opened up to all the projects I've got. This one in particular, BIM 360, BIM MEP, project files, and then we just send that straight through. Now, like all good demos, we've got one we prepared earlier, and we can go back and show a bit more of that if you want. What we're going to do now is basically have Chris open up his field controller. Now the field controller, it's a Panasonic ToughPad, so extremely hard wearing, but it's running Windows, so we can actually use pretty good connectivity through to things if we wanted to in the background, even having Revit2 or Bluebeam or something else running. But here it is, and I've emailed it across, so I've sent it up to BIM 360, I've rung Chris, woken him up, and he's on site now.
Yeah, so basically it's really simple. You just you go into your BIM 360, you start your activation on it, and then it really allows you to then, whatever project's been downloaded to you, to then bring them in. You just hit your reference data, you just tell it, I want to look at your BIM 360 server. It'll connect up to it. And then once you get in there, then you just go into your documents.
Hang on, Chris.
Projections dropped off.
You got to check just do your connect again. I'll make sure nothing's on my screen.
It's still connected to you.
Right, try that.
It's still connected to you.
Dun, 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 dun.
There we go.
Do you want to connect again?
So it's connecting.
Yeah, here we go.
There we go. Very simple. And then when you go into, just pull the documents out of it. Let's hit into your BIM 360.
Are you connected online?
It might be grabbing it through and
Just
doing that. That's what the
Give me
problem
2 seconds.
No, I just won't, I don't need to grab it again. So once you get your documents uploaded into it, then it's very simple. Then from there, you just want it as quick and easily as you can for a lot of people. When you show up on some sites, sometimes you don't have all the grid, the targets up on the wall with coordinates X, Y, Z's on them. Sometimes you have grid lines that are snapped through but aren't always clearly marked with an offset. They're just labeled, A, B, C line or 1, 2, 3. that's no dramas for you really. We created a quick little room here, and this is how easy it is to really to be able to set up. We'll just shoot into these speakers, and then I'll shoot a penetration through the wall, and all just by setting up off of some wall alignments right here. So basically, you go into the home, you hit up your setup, and then you're going to hit as-built walls. Then it takes you into your instrument that it's connected to. It just makes sure that you're nice and level, and then you do your tick through. Now basically what it asks you to do is it asks you to do your measurements and then define where your measurements are at. So basically, I'll shoot a wall here. I'll shoot a wall here. I'll shoot the wall here. And then again here. Now this is
Two points on each wall.
Yes, 2 points on each wall. If you want a really highly accurate setup, you can do 2 points along two grid lines. It'll do the exact same thing. Basically, it creates the intersection point, and then it tells your instrument where it's set up off of just basically shooting into those 2 baselines. Now, it's got you set up. It's got you set up in the XY, but you don't have any Z values yet. So then you do have to set your Z value. So then you just transfer heights from anywhere. We know that the floor here is, oh, it's a little bit lag. The floor here is basically the 0 elevation. So I just tell it, it's asking my reflector height, which I'm using the laser, so it'd be 0. And then I just tell it, I can either pick on a point that's on the floor, or I can just tell it it's 0 there. And then I hit start to start my EDM to measure. And then once it's green, I hit store. It's stored on my end. Okay, so now that you're done and you're finished, now you basically can either start laying out or capturing data, because you're in a, no, it won't.
You got to shift it.
Yes, yes. Sorry about that.
That's version 6.
That's version 6 where it does automatically.
Yeah.
Dot dot.
Hold on.
I apologize. I will have to do this one more time.
Just keep going, and we'll try and connect up once you set up. So we're wirelessly casting from the little device to the laptop, and
It's just jacking with my tablet right at the moment, which
Yeah.
is really funny, because it wasn't earlier. You might have to cancel me out. I can't see all my screen.
I can't see it either.
Okay. This is beautiful.
So there? All right, we'll just finish your setup, and then I'll see if we can.
Hold on, I'll have to do my setup really quick over again. It's locked me out of half my screen.
Oh.
Okay, here we go. Setup as well as. I apologize for this. It worked like a charm the first 2 times now. show what we're doing?
Well, I'm just going to log to the same project.
That's not really going to help them out too much.
No, but it's a sleight of hand.
Zero. Okay. Well, now that it's set up and you can reference it in, then basically laying out is pretty simple then. It's the way it works is that it uses the elevation as something to hold it. So you don't have to, once you set your instrument up and you're in the 3D elevation, if you want to automatically stake out points on the floor or on the ceiling, you don't need to change your reference point. Your instrument isn't going to shoot it in the 3D. What it does is it reads the elevation that it's on, it creates it as a surface, and then it works to that surface. So once it's already shot one point on the floor, it'll use that elevation to try and locate the next one. Once it shoots where it's at, it'll reiterate and then locate it again. And I'll show you very simply by laying out automatically to some points that just on the ceiling, we just kind of selected some points, and then basically what it asks you is it says, please turn your scope to the desired work surface. And this is one of the reasons why it says the desired work surface is because if you have hanger points created all along the ceiling, you don't then want to have to create the points on the floor to set them out. Basically, all you do is you just tell the instrument, my work surface is on the floor, and it will set out all your hanger points on the floor for you then to mark out and then come back to drill later, or you can drill them as you go. Right there, we just found where the speakers were at, and then it automatically will just kind of checking that our setup from the walls is correct. It looks like it's in the center of that speaker. And then again, if I want to just stake out the next one, I just hit stake out, it'll turn, and then it'll find it again. Now, if I want to do a wall penetration, very simply, then I would just select. If you're working in an IFC model, you would select your objects, and then in the IFC model, you can select on points, or you can select on strings or lines, and set them out. Because we're working in a 2D PDF, a 3D PDF. It has. We're gonna just take the string. That's a wall penetration over here. So I'm just gonna lay out a line really quick, and then I select on it.
Do you want to try that screen again, or give up?
Yes, I can. Yeah. Let me do that. I haven't turned on the EDM set.
Here we go. Come on.
Take it easy, Chris.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So
good.
basically there, you can see where it says, please point the telescope to the desired work surface and press start. So with a pipe, because you don't have to create an alignment further than what the surface that you're staking to. A lot of times when you want to stake out to the walls, you have to create offsets on each side of the wall to be able to stake to this wall. In Icon, you don't. You just have to have an alignment. It could be an existing pipe that you have as built, and you want to see where it's going to penetrate through the wall. Then basically, if you've modeled it, you select it, you hit start, which starts the EDM. It'll measure. And then you can see where the dotted line will, if it starts catching up, it'll locate. Yeah, it's even still lagging.
But that line was the projection of that pipe, even though you only had a small piece of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so basically, you can store it, and then if you wanted to project where that line was at over on this other wall, basically you point to whatever surface it was going to be at, and it will find where it locates it on the other side of the wall. So if you have say you have a pipe run that runs the length of your room, and it's starting on one side, you want to see how it impacts every column in your room. If it goes through them, then basically you can do this by shooting to each of the surfaces and marking them. Even if it's on a slope, It works with slopes, which is also really nice because not everything that you know is flat penetration. So there it's reiterated and it's found where the projection of that pipe was on that side of the room, very simply over to here. So it's super fast, simple.
Now you're doing all this without the magical
Yes,
wizard wand?
Yes, without the prism.
Mm-hmm.
In small rooms, sometimes you don't have time to, or really need to lay out with a prism. The laser is really the quickest way to mark it out for you, and yeah, you don't have to worry about it being level. So, in a small working environment, lay it out with the laser.
But this one can take the prism if you need to.
Absolutely.
Right.
It works with the 360 prism that we have. It's the most accurate 360 prism out there. It only has about 1.5 millimeters of deviation. So if you're looking for some high accuracy, if you need it, we do have the equipment that does it. Yeah, and that's basically the simple workflow. Now, if you want to start creating as-builts to bring them back, Icon allows you to create all different kinds of emblems when you want to store them, so you're not just storing a gray, generic dot on your plan. It allows you to create triangles, squares, asterisks. No, if you go back.
I was just going to show the reporting in the same sort of way.
And then, yeah, so it allows you to really to tailor what you're capturing your as-builts to your needs, and then you can just hook it back up to BIM 360 and export it back out right from your tablet if you're hotspotting to it. It's
And then
very simple.
back in Revit, actually, that's a great pass back. Didn't think of that. There's the import section. So we can import that file that's just been made, or it can come from BIM 360, and it will coordinate back to those original points that you put in the model. And you can see, probably be 100% check, but if there was any differences because of on-site conditions or you didn't get to some of it, it'll show up there as a sort of almost like a job list.
Just a question with that for as-built. Is the workflow more efficient? I mean, setting it out and then capturing as-built set out versus doing a reality capture scan and comparing that against.
Great question. So we've got a scan here because it was the quickest, easiest way to get the whole room and environment, and then we got out of here. Depending on that scan workflow, I know there's a few ways of cutting the of going down, whether it's say a Verity or just straight Navisworks, or we've got some solutions ourselves. Depending on how you're checking against that point cloud, you've got a lot of data when you probably only need a few points. It's one of those things where you're trading off. You got lots of data, which is mostly correct, as opposed to this, which is not much data, always correct, because it's the most accurate way of defining a point in the room or the space. Lots of people have gone down the scanner path, we know because we've been selling them, but not necessarily is it the best way of doing the verification for everything you're trying to do. Greg might talk to that because that's obviously his area, and you're not that blinkered that you don't realise that there's other tools that will do a very...
Oh, absolutely, because I think, and it's a good question, and I think at its most basic level, some things you need to know more accurately than others, and that's where something like a robotic is fantastic. And then there's a lot of other stuff which is fantastic to capture with the scanner. So it's
what's good about the total station is if you're already using that as a work tool because you're setting out and laying out from it. It just happens to then do as-builts because that's how you're bringing stuff back in. The scanner, again, you might be there on site scanning for some other reason, but I think we've found that the BLK, through a lot of the MEP customers, is fine for figuring out the situation and where they're going to be access points and those sort of things, but it's just not high enough for, I guess, what you'd call a LOD 500 as-built or a verification scan. So moving up to that device, again, which we've sold lots of, that's a bigger space to play in. And not... some are, but not many are, as far as using that as their only verification tool.
The difference in the verifications, though, also, if you're using a total station, you come in and shoot the walls besides, you can find the squareness of your room, but if you come in and scanned it, then you can see if there's any deformations in the walls and things like that. Then you'd be catching up deformations in the slab or in the ceiling. It captures a lot more information. So it depends on how much information you really need.
Yeah, I guess if you're setting out
No, most people don't need the actual tray itself. They just want to know the hangers and the weights, so they can figure out the holes and what's going to be supporting. In a lot of the documentation I see, the cable trays aren't even there. They're just points on the wall in the soffit. So yeah, it does depend. I'm conscious we need to get to Greg, who might further this certainly at our stand. But I think it's a great question, and I think the software is catching up to what you guys in particular need to do from a point cloud. Because just popping a point cloud into a space is not enough. So with that, I'll pass over to Greg, who I'm sure everybody's in the room is excited.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt. As Matt said, my name's Greg Franz. I'm the Reality Capture Segment Manager for Leica Geosystems based here in Melbourne. One of the great things, even like just in the half day we've had at this conference so far, the number of people I've spoken to that have a BLK 360 is really exciting. So that's quite impressive. And here we are. So the BLK story continues. 2 years ago, the BLK 360 was released, and it's been fantastic. I still love using it. Start of the year, we released the BLK 3D, which is a relatively new device. You can take a picture and then take measurements on that. So many people go on site now and just take pictures automatically by default. This allows you to take a picture but then take measurements on that. A week, a month or a year later, you can come back to the picture and take more measurements. And we've just released a new update for this where you can import a plan and just take pictures and then locate that picture on the plan, so you can start to really make some benefits from it, and we've got some exciting things coming from that as well in the not too distant future. But some of you may have recently seen what our next part of the BLK story is. So the BLK to go, and as you can imagine, we're quite excited about it, and we're calling it Reality Capture Made Simple. There's a number of really exciting things about this. It has a camera, so it will take pictures as you go along. It's very lightweight. I think it's like 800 grams, so it's quite easy to use. It has a little dome on top, which is great because it'll get a lot of use, so it helps protect it. But you may have noticed there was 2 green lines in that previous movie. It's actually a dual axis LiDAR, so it's not just one beam, it's sending out 2, which obviously improves the capture rate. And one of its real differentiators is what we call the Grand Slam. There's other devices which use SLAM, simultaneous location and mapping, which is just using the laser by itself. But we, from our RTC, have used the VIS technology, which is basically there's 3 extra cameras on the BLK to go, and they are continually tracking you as you move around the room. So that combination of this VIS technology and the SLAM technology makes for a much more robust solution and a lot more consistent results. And that, like I said, is one of the key differentiators. We'll have an app. You can't have anything nowadays without an app. So there will be an app which will let you see what you've captured. So as you're moving around, you can see what you've captured. To some of the BLK 360 users, you'll be a little bit jealous of the to-go because it does have a cable to download data. It's a little bit contentious, the cable, yeah. We also are about to release, and this is likewise for the BLK 360, a BLK edition of our Register 360 software. So it's purely been designed to work with the BLK 360 and the new BLK to go. So we're just really to streamline that process. You can connect the BLK to go to the Register 360 data and then export an RCP file straight from there. So really made that much more simpler. We really think it'll be used in a lot of different ways, and like a lot of our products, they're used in ways we would not have even imagined to. So it's not too far away from coming, but in my little bag of tricks,
Do you have one?
we have one, but it's not working. So this is an actual prototype, so it's obviously here to give you an idea of the size of it and the weight. We're expecting it to land in Asheville sometime, maybe October, November, something like that, so it's not too far away. But yes, we're quite excited about it, and there's a lot of other new things that are coming. We talked about verification. We've got some exciting news about verification. That process, I think, is really key. We've seen verification in manufacturing for decades, and now it's starting to come into AC, which is quite exciting. And this will probably be one of those tools which will really help that process. So that's it for us. I think if there's any questions for Chris, Matt, or myself, now's the time to ask.
Yeah, we've got about 5 minutes, I think. So, and you know, that maybe leads us back into that question about as-builts and verification. That is a tool that you could certainly walk around as you were walking around inspecting the building anyway. And it's just an additional pickup. It's not an additional person or fleet of people. But it's going to, as Chris said, as Greg said, it's going to have various purposes depending on the accuracy you're after. You could already see in any of those views slammed before, it's a different even type of data collection. So it's much more strandy because everything's moving, but still extremely
Yeah.
extremely good.
When did we say that your program was running out for the BLK 360 and the Go?
It's next month.
Next month.
Yeah.
So for one price, it'll be register 360, RCP export.
No, we're talking about the Register 360
Yeah.
BLK edition, the software that just works with that. So just the
RCP export. Will
Yeah.
be inside.
yes,
Yeah.
correct.
No addition.
No. And for some, sorry, just to interrupt, I'll grab. So for existing BLK 360 users, come grab us after this, and we can show you the Field 360 workflow, which Matt showed you how that works with the tablet and the BLK. It's quite slick. So come and grab us after that. Sorry, you were going to say something?
Do we have the possibility to scan the ceiling?
With this, yes, yeah. So whatever is in its field of view, that will capture. So.
Scan behind the ceiling. I mean,
Oh no, like an X-ray type of thing. No, unfortunately not. That would be one of those the other device that Matt Craig mentioned earlier, the see-through. Yeah, that's a different type of device, and they're quite exciting because they can, you can use them for seeing where Rio is in concrete and all sorts of things, and then there's another version for walls.
So for ceilings at the moment, there still isn't really a device because even the ceiling, it's only a thin layer. These GPR type devices need a constant substrate to pass through. It doesn't have it. We do have extension tripods. A lot of people are using those now where you've got one access hatch, put the tripod up, and you can scan all through there. So that is at least easier than having to pull the ceiling tiles apart.
Great.
No questions from
Oh,
us?
2 more, yeah.
What's the difference between the RTC 360 and that one, the BLK?
So the RTC behind you, it has the Viz technology, those seeing eyes. So as you move around, it's tracking. So whereas as you saw with Matt, when he showed previously, had 4 scans come up on the screen and they were all separate, but they weren't in the right location. So you have to use a manual way to join those together. The RTC does that automatically for you. So it's already registered as you're moving around. So that's one of the bottlenecks in the past with scanning, is that sometimes you might go somewhere and a scan hasn't popped into the right spot. That is registering as you go. So it's quite advanced and it's quite unique, and it's saving a lot of people a lot of time.
That's 2 million points a second. That's 360,000. So also data collection, so a lot more.
Up the back.
What's the accuracy on the BLK Go?
Not sure yet. It'll be about the centimetre level, something like that.
Yep.
So, yeah, there's still a lot of information we're really hungry for and waiting for, but yeah, it'll be something like that. So, and there's a lot of uses for that type of accuracy, I think.
Yeah, and there's no price point yet?
No, not yet. It'll be somewhere between that one and that one.
All right. Can we trade those in?
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Will
Well,
it
there's
drive the
a lot of
price up and
scope.
down?
Well, I mean, it depends on your perspective. I mean, this has been fantastic in like like a $100,000 instrument. That's a third of that price. We heard in this morning's presentation talking about, products becoming cheaper and whatnot, and that's an example of it. But it just depends on your perspective,
I think there's always still going to be a need for a terrestrial, meaning a fixed point scanner. I don't know how we'll ever make a mobile scanner be as accurate as these, because it's dealing with a single point of reflection or pickup, whereas you're on the move. So it'd be nice to see if that one can do some stationary scanning.
And as well as, I mean, there's some tricks you can do with the mobile devices as well. Like if you introduce control and things like that, you can add, you certainly can add improvements. So, yeah. Oh, that's good. There's been some good questions. We have some little mini BLK USBs, so feel free to come grab a couple of those.
Get surprised. Who in the room at the moment is using any of this technology? Doesn't have to be this brand.
The outsources of outputs from them, but we don't have the actual device.
Yeah, we know, we've asked. Is it still, is that upheaval still to incorporate all this into your workflow, or that has been an easier transition? I mean, mainly because you're in BIM, I assume, bringing in point clouds and as-builts should be fairly simple.
I just want to bring it in as part of our normal process.
And that's what's happening. I think the more people use it, the more second nature it becomes.
Is it if you're using M360 as well?
Yeah, the BIM 360 part, look, we can get, it's nice to show, and it certainly shows the relationship between Autodesk and Leica, but you can live without it. There are other workflows and Dropboxes and things that you could utilise. It's just, I think it's going to be a fairly easy thing for a subby to have access to, whereas some of the other ones, because that's what we're dealing with here at this level. So Chris is an imaginary subby. He's probably got access to BIM 360 by default on a lot of projects. So it's a good one to connect to.